Let's face it, getting older sucks. Getting older in the age of social media is even worse. Do you hate it when people tell you to age gracefully? Do you want to know how to live your best life at any age? Well, so do we. First rule, don't call me ma'am. Now, here's Jodi Miller. Hey everybody, welcome to Don't Call Me Ma'am. I'm Jodi Miller, and don't fucking call me ma'am. I am so excited for today's guest. Oh my God, I'm just so excited because I love this woman. I feel like I've known you actually for so many years before we became like friends. We knew each other in the comedy circuit. She is a comedian, an actress, an activist, a mom, a cool fucking awesome lady. I mean, there's just so many things I can say about her. She's probably like a rocket scientist too, and I don't even know it. I feel like she's just
negative.
Who is a rocket scientist, really? Put your hands together, people, right now. And I know you're not driving because you're not going anywhere because nothing's open. Put your hands together right now for the one, the only Angelina Spicer. Woo! And the music plays. Oh my God, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you like in person.
The wig?
I mean, that wig is on point.
Yeah, it's lit, right?
Mm-hmm. Is that what the kids say? On point? They say lit, I get it, but I'm trying to be like, you know.
Yeah, no. We say lit, not on point. On point is like 2002. Maybe?
Oh, all right, 2002. I'm sorry. No, at least 2012, okay? You just showed your age, all right? Because the kids would never say 2002. The kids were like kids in 2002.
Great point. Great point.
I mean,
You're correct.
Oh, well, what does your daughter say?
It's funny you ask, because the other day she asked me, Mommy, what is lit? And I'm like, you're 5 years old. Why are you asking me what is lit? It's too much TikTok. She loves
my God, is she obsessed with TikTok?
Obsessed. She wants a cooking show on TikTok.
Can she cook?
No, she can't. Well, I don't let. She can sous chef. You know, I give her a plastic butter knife and a carrot, and she feels like she's doing something. You know.
So do I. That's exactly how I cook too, with a carrot and a plastic knife.
Yes. So she feels like she's asking questions about like what is lit, and I explained it to her like using another word. I was like, oh, it means fly. She's like, oh, like Fly Guy and Buzz from the book. I was like, no, ain't but I'm showing my age now.
I was just gonna say fly. Oh my God.
Like Fly Guy, you know, or like Fly Girls.
Fly Girls, you like breakout videos of J-Lo as a fly girl, and you're like, this is what fly is. Although fly was lit is actually a great little word, but fly was so like the original. It was so cool to be like, that guy's fly, that girl's fly, like fly. That just felt right. I mean, lit sounds very close to another word that doesn't really sound great. It's just like lit. I'm like, I mean,
right. I feel the same way about the word facts.
Wait, the word what?
FACTS.
Oh, I don't think I've even heard that.
Yes, that's what the kids say now also when they're saying something is true or like they agree with you. They're like facts. Yeah, super facts. Big facts.
Oh my God. Thank God you told me that, because I would come out of quarantine and people would be fasting all over the place. I'd be like, what are you talking about? I have no idea what the fuck you're saying.
Right, facts. They're like, yeah, facts. So instead of saying word or yeah or
word is the best.
It's facts. Yeah, it's facts.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, you've got lit and you've also got fire too. Like, that's fire.
Mm-hmm.
I like fire.
I like fire better than lit because lit is a little more ambiguous. Like,
yes.
You don't know what lit is, but fire, you know, oh, there's a reaction.
Fire is, exactly. I mean, they're all variations of hot. Let's just be honest. And when I was in high school, I was hot. What?
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's just, it changes so much. Speaking of your daughter, so your daughter's 5. I cannot believe it. We're going to get into all of that.
Okay.
Pre, post Ava, all of that stuff. But what is your daughter like? How is she reacting to all of this? not just the quarantine, but the movement, what's happening, which is, obviously long overdue. And watching you as such an inspiration, like you're an inspiration to me. If you were my mom, like I would be like, holy shit, that's my mom. It's amazing. It really is. Every time I see you, I'm like, wow, it's inspiring in so many ways. But what does Ava think of everything that's going on? Because I'm really curious about what kids what's really going on in their mind.
Yeah. And it's funny you ask, because like all of my mom groups, and for some reason now I'm like the voice of mothers, and I'm like, like how did I end up as like the voice?
How did that happen?
Right. Anybody could do this, but I'm like,
it's like one day my husband didn't use protection and now I'm the voice of mothers.
Exactly. I wrapped my legs around and was like, come on.
I need to be fucking lit.
Yes, I need to be lit.
That's a callback, everyone out there who's not in the comedy world.
Right. So yeah, it's interesting how she's reacting to it. And I see how moms and parents have one or two reactions mostly. They either like fully submerge their kids with all this information. They take them to the rallies, they're out there protesting.
Right.
Or they completely shelter them.
Right.
The news. And me and my husband, #WhiteBay, for those who follow me on Instagram, but #WhiteBay, he and I take the approach of like, let's give her the information that we want to shape her point of view around.
That's a great way to look at it. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Really great.
Yeah.
Great approach, for real.
That not all police are bad.
Right.
That daddy is white.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Mommy is black.
Because that has to be confusing. You know what I mean? If she's hearing, look, there's extremists, on every, debate, on every topic, there are people that are extreme one way or the other. You know what I mean? So it's hard to shelter people from that, especially children from that. And for her having, a white father and a black mother, and she's hearing things that people are saying, about white people, it's confusing, and black people. So she's, you know what I mean?
And like, also what I've learned, to your point, Jodi, is that I've learned that you have to explain color and race.
Yes.
To kids.
Yes.
Like that's something I don't remember.
Did you? Yeah, I was just gonna say, did you think you were gonna have to do that, like when you know what I mean, when you were pregnant?
No, I didn't think I was gonna have to do that when I was pregnant. I realized it when she would identify her friends as peach and brown and tan.
Oh, wow.
And mommy has brown skin, daddy has peach skin, I have tan skin. And I was like, no, baby, I'm black. Daddy is white. You black. That's you are black, okay? The world sees you as black.
Right.
And you need to know that it's okay to be seen as black, and they're all different shades and all of those things. But that's when I realized that kids need to be told that they're white.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh my God. Yes. So I'm going through the process of adoption. One of the things they talked about is, helping your kiddo, helping your child understand, that if they are a different race than me, they're going to identify, as a white Jewish person because I'm white and Jewish, even if they're not, until they see someone else who looks like them. They're not going to understand that it's a different race. They're going to think like the way Ava did and think, our skin color is different. Why don't I look like you? I don't understand what that means. It's one of those things. So I was really blown away by this class because they were like explaining that, like basically take stock in my inventory on Black friends, on Asian friends, on Latina friends, in case my child is a different race, so that my child can see not just my gardener that happens to be Mexican, but also my dentist that happens to be Mexican. So they can see different, the same race in different professions, and they don't, put them in a box and they're like, this is what they do. So I thought it was really, really interesting and a very educational class. And I feel like everyone should take that class because it
Or,
really, yes.
and it's like,
Yeah.
that's when I realized that kids just need to be told, you are white,
Right.
not peach, not tan, and even more so for interracial adoption.
Yes.
If you are a Black family adopting a white child, I've never seen it, but I'm sure it happens somewhere.
Yeah.
You need to tell your child, mommy and dad are Black, you are white.
Right.
And the world is going to see you and treat you as a white person.
Right.
As plain as that. So me and #WhiteBabe, we've taken the approach, like I said, I allow Ava to watch the news with me.
Right.
We protested with Ava. We brought her to protests.
So great.
So that she could experience it for herself, but also know the reason. So she watched, I didn't allow her to watch the whole video of George Floyd.
Right.
But at least a minute of it, when they all had their knees on his neck and he couldn't breathe. I allowed her to see that. And she was confused. She was like, well, wait, mommy, police are good. Why did they do that to him?
And that's another really difficult conversation to have, because we do teach our kids, that the police are good. I mean, from a very little age, like there are lots of books where you see the police officer and little kids play with Legos, the police officer, and the police officer comes and saves the day and keeps law and order. And the truth is that that's what they do. And there are so many amazing, people in law enforcement, and there are a lot of really bad people in law enforcement. It's just difficult because they're hearing other things and they're hearing people at protests. And while you can regulate what she watches at home, like you can watch a minute of this, you can watch this with me, at a protest though, she might hear something, you know what I mean, that doesn't really fall in line with you and your husband's, beliefs. And then, I mean, it's fine because then, you have that conversation with her, but it's a tricky situation.
It is very tricky. But what I found is that when you don't start those conversations, when you don't have those conversations, when you don't expose your children to a protest, when you shield them from these experiences, the world influences their opinions, not you. So that was Ava she's 5 years old. And she doesn't like crowds. She doesn't like loud music, loud noise. She don't even like when I make smoothies, okay?
Oh my God.
Loud. So she was at the rally like, mommy, I don't like all these bullhorns and all this noise. So I had to carry her on my back. We only stayed for 30 minutes. Good. She knew, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. She understood and she had the experience. We could have those conversations. Now, I'm not advocating for people to protest with their kids or to show their kids disturbing videos. What works for you works for you.
1,000%. I think though,
to have the conversations.
Yes, having the conversation, whether you protest with them, whether you let them, watch the news or watch, very upsetting videos, that's definitely everybody's discretion. It's their choice, but not having the conversation is far worse, because I was thinking about it the other day, and how I grew up, my parents didn't have a conversation with me because of that, and I'm not blaming my parents for anything, but I did grow up. What'd you say? What?
I said, you can blame your parents, by the way.
Well, I can blame my mom because she's dead. So what is she going to do? Right?
You're right. Rest in peace, mama. Go ahead. Rest in peace.
Mom, my mom's here. She knows I'm blaming her for everything. She's still judging me from the grave. So it's fine. We have still a give and take relationship. My parents didn't have a conversation about, I knew obviously about civil rights. I obviously knew about the Holocaust because I'm Jewish. Mm-hmm. So it's, the things that I learned were, I think, what a lot of people learned, but they didn't have a conversation. The conversations that you're having with your daughter, the conversations that other parents are having. And this generation, the younger generations, the ones that are coming up now and the ones yet to be born, they're the ones that are going to hopefully continue with this change. Do you know what I mean? We're really starting it now. Now. This is powerful now, but it's the people getting born, you know what I mean, that are about to get born, and your daughter, her generation, they're the ones that are going to really make sure that the change sticks, that we implement the change and it's
and
there.
that we have these conversations.
Yes.
And I think the protests are helping with that. You know, the protest that we took Ava to, my daughter to, was organized by the local high school.
Right.
Students. Like
Wow.
a sophomore organized it, and there were 3,000 people.
My
that
God.
showed.
Kids today, what were you doing when you were a sophomore in high school?
Probably jumping out the window so my mom wouldn't see my boyfriend in the room.
There's exactly. I was definitely trying to lose my virginity. That's all I was caring about.
Legs open.
I'm like, protests. I'm just protesting the fact that I still have my virginity. Like, I wouldn't know how to like pull people together to like kids. It's amazing. I'm actually in awe of the younger generations and what they're able to do all over the world, by the way. I'm like, my God, that's so not, it's just obviously different times, but that's not what I was thinking about. How do I get my hair as high as it can be? Use a whole, like an entire can of Aquanet. Oh my God, yes, right? Just like teasing it, just like, I mean, you're Brooklyn, you know.
I mean, for me, it was the braids. It was the cornrows.
Oh, the cornrows.
Yeah, I was rocking the lemonade braids in like third grade, you know. You know what? Right. So, but yeah, but it's a really delicate balance. And, you know, with my own journey, I really try not to judge people's parenting and judge what they do and choose not to do.
Absolutely.
You know, but when people ask me, I always tell them, like, the conversation should come from you.
Absolutely.
And not the world.
Right. And by the way, anybody watching, we're not telling you how you should parent or what you should do. And I love my parents and they didn't do anything wrong. It wasn't like that. I'm not blaming them for anything. It's just one of those things. Yes. Now it's like the veil has, you know, been lifted. What are you going to do? What are you going to do now that you see?
And especially for people who want to help.
Yes.
And they want to contribute and they want to see change just as much as we do. You Black people do.
Yes, no, I think honestly, and again, I'm just speaking from myself, but I think a lot of people, because I had this feeling, but because I, you know, obviously love to perform in public and I love being out there, it might be a little bit different, but I definitely have the thought like, well, what can I do that's not going to come across as offensive? I don't want to do something because, you know, I want to do something that's going to upset someone else because I'm saying something like, I don't know what to do, but not doing anything isn't okay either. So it's kind of like that. That's how I felt. I think in the beginning, it was very overwhelming because we're in the middle of a pandemic too, which I think was a catalyst, which was, you know, exactly what we needed, you know what I mean? To light this, you know, power keg. Is that even a word? Power keg? I just made it up.
I don't know. I got
whatever, just light it. But honestly, I never felt more connected and disconnected to everyone all at once. That's like the feeling I had. I don't know if that's how you felt. Like, you know what I mean?
Jodi, yes. You felt disconnected.
And connected at the same time. Like,
real. That's real. Yeah. I felt very angry.
Right.
Long time. And when I say a long time, for a very uncomfortable time for me, especially in the pandemic while homeschooling.
Oh my God.
You know, looking at my husband 24 hours a day. You know, like I was just mad. And then, you know, to watch that long ass video, that 8-minute, 46 second video with the knees in the neck. And, you know, I was just pissed. I was pissed. And then, you know, in talking to my husband, luckily my husband is, I think, very woke.
Yeah.
And I only say that because I really know his ass.
Right. Yeah.
I really know his monkey ass. I wouldn't in it because I didn't, you know, I was a little suspicious about the white man, but I came around and I know that he's deeply woke. He's deeply woke. And, you know, when we started having those conversations and we agreed on you know, my husband's a public defender. He represents guys on death row.
Right.
He leads up the Innocence Project in LA. And like, you know, he gets it.
Right.
But when I was just so angry that so few of my peers outside of #WhiteBay got it. They didn't understand the protests. They didn't understand the police misconduct. They didn't understand how long this has been going on and how fucked up, the justice system, it's just, they didn't get it. And that made me really angry. So I sat in my feelings for a little while, probably about a month, 3 weeks or so. I just sat in my feelings. And then that's when I started taking inventory of my own life.
Right.
And what my mom did, what I thought was right and wrong. And then I started, helping some of my white mama's sister allies who came to me for help.
I think it's amazing. And by the way, also normal, and you're no stranger to having a lot of, dealing with emotions and dealing with, well, we're going to get into that, but like, you're not a stranger to being like, I know how to sit in my feelings. Like you're really woke in that, in that arena. I mean, you didn't really have a choice, but now that you were sort of forced into that, but now you're like, because a lot of people just react. They don't just sit in their feelings and they don't let it, they react and they don't let it go. They don't realize that some people need someone to show them, hey, maybe watch this movie, read this book. Like, this is what we've been through. And for me, I felt really dumb. I didn't know a lot of stuff. It's interesting that I knew everything about the Holocaust, but not, you know what I mean? Like, and that's great, but I need to know every side, you know what I mean? And I don't think I just didn't even think about it. And I felt really dumb for that. So I sat down and I asked a lot of my Black friends, like, what should I read? What should I watch? Like, I specifically want to educate myself. I want to know more. I want to do more,
Luckily you have Black friends. Like that's also a problem. Right. Is that, my white sister allies don't have any Black friends in their lives. And I don't mean like, a friend you find on Craigslist or somebody, you see across the hall from you every day when you go to work. Right. I'm talking about like somebody you really fuck with. Right. Like you and Vanessa. Vanessa Graddick is your homegirl.
Love
like
her.
Your real friend.
Love her.
Like you wouldn't go to your neighbor who you don't know and say, hey, I feel really dumb. What can I read? Right? You go to your real girl.
Well, especially because my neighbor is an 80-year-old German man. So he would be like, I don't know either.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't know. No.
No, you're right. And I definitely feel fortunate for that. I also feel fortunate. It's funny, when I was in that interracial adoption class, I brought up the fact that I feel fortunate that I'm in the comedy, in the comedy world. I feel like we're all, as comedians, when you're, at the club, waiting to go up, starting out in your career, you are surrounding yourself with, so many different people, so many different cultures, ethnicities, and you hear it all on stage. And yes, they're jokes, but all of our jokes, as you know, are, they come from the real place that is usually pain, to be honest with you. Yeah. So you're hearing it and oh, Angelina's talking about postpartum and it's hilarious, but fuck, she had that. She was really fucked up. You know what I mean? People talk about the loss of a parent, addiction, all of that, growing up homeless, all of these things. While it's really funny on stage, it's, it's coming from a place of pain. So I feel fortunate that I'm in, the comedy world to experience that and to have many different types of people around me all the time. Yeah.
And that's another thing I tell moms too, is that, that intimate knowledge about Black people usually comes really late for my white sister allies. Like it comes later in life. And as mothers, especially as mothers with young kids, like we gotta make a concerted effort to socialize our kids together.
Yes,
you're right. Not at basketball practice, but like go out of your neighborhood, a concerted effort, because I feel like, that's a huge part of the issue, is that nobody understands each other. Nobody knows. Everybody's kind of like confused and then generalizing. But that, Jodi, my mom went through so many extremes.
Right.
to make sure that I was socialized with white folks.
That's great.
And
That's amazing.
so many Black people do that.
It's really
because
amazing.
they have to.
Yes.
White people don't have to do that.
You're absolutely right.
And unfortunate, it's sad, but that's a huge gap, I think, in my humble ass opinion. I think that it's a huge gap in socializing and a huge gap in just society, like
I agree.
we don't have intimate relationships across racial, and I'd suggested that to a mom in a mom group, and she was like, well, what do you expect me to do? Like drive across town to some ghetto neighborhood and yeah, I got a lot of polite no's on that suggestion, but it's a really small thing that people can do. Let me tell you, Jodi.
Yeah.
I'll let you interject and then I'm
No, I'm just going to agree with you, but go ahead.
My mom sent me, I went to public school in Brooklyn, okay? I grew up in Brooklyn, in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, okay? The crack era, Marcy Projects, Biggie Smalls, the whole thing. I went to public school there. I went to a specialized public school, but it was a public school nonetheless. And then my mom put me in boarding school in upstate New York, where my whole middle school, I went to middle school there. There were 15 kids, 6th, 7th, split between 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
Oh my God.
Okay. And you talk about being the only chocolate chip in a bowl of grits. That was okay. Like the only black bean in the white rice. Yes, ma'am. That was
I was like, what's this black bean doing in rice? Just leave it there. Just leave it in the rice.
Right. So that, and then, but my mom made a concerted effort while I was at that school to take me to film festivals in Manhattan. She, to see Sankofa. You probably never heard of Sankofa. Add that to the list. Okay?
I'm going to.
And everybody add that to the list. Sankofa is an amazing film about a woman from West Africa who lost her sense of identity trying to assimilate. But like my mom in 6th grade is pulling me from my white ass boarding school to Manhattan to go see this. My mom sent me to Africa every summer growing up.
That's amazing.
I went to an HBCU, Howard University, and now my husband's white. Don't ask me. That's the reality. But my point is, you gotta make a concerted effort. It's not gonna fall in your lap.
Yes.
And you can't expect your kids to grow up and their only interaction with black people come when they're in college, 18, and that's the first time they
interact with other. Yes, that's ridiculous.
That's fucking sad.
Because now they're like, well, I don't like, and again, totally different level. But when I went to school in Pennsylvania, one of my closest friends, her roommate, she came back to the dorms after Thanksgiving break, and it was her and her father and me and my friend Marnie, very Jewish, and we walked in and we said to her roommate, like, how was your Thanksgiving? And she was like, it was great. How was yours? And we were like, it was great. And her father, the adult in the room, and we're 18, he said, oh, I didn't know you people celebrated Thanksgiving. And I swear to God, I looked behind me. I'm like, what does he mean? But who's he talking to? Is there a foreign exchange student behind me?
Thank you.
Because that's an American holiday. I don't know what was he? We were so blown away by that. And then that's when we realized, there's only like 3 kids at my university that happen to be Jewish. Not that I was like planning on like starting a temple or let's start the temple. I just wanted to go to a frat party and kiss boys. Like I didn't get drunk and wasted, but it was very obvious that I was like, oh, they don't know anything about Jewish people. Nothing. And I was like, oh, wow. So now I'm like, well, how much do I know about African Americans? How much do I know? You know what I mean?
And then you've got to think too, like how much do African Americans know about our own existence? Everything, that we've been taught in school was kind of glossed over. We got the same history lessons.
Wow, it's crazy. I mean,
so it's a lot, girl. it's a lot. So I'm just trying to do right by my little baby, my little, you know.
She is a little nugget.
But,
We're going to talk about, let's a good segue into this. Angelina has the most beautiful little girl. You will all be following her on Instagram if you're not already, so you will see lots of videos of her. I mean, she is so adorable and so like camera ready. I mean, definitely your daughter.
Who do you say?
Oh my God, she's amazing. Is she ever though, like, let me just ask you a question. Is she ever like, Mom, stop, you're embarrassing me?
No, not yet. I dread the day. I dread it. But no, not at all. She told me she wants her own cooking show. I told you. And she wants to report the weather on TikTok. I'm like, what? Where you get this from?
So, why she wants to report the weather?
She has a little microphone. I wish I had it. A little gold microphone.
I feel like maybe I wanted to report the weather too. I feel like it was just, you know what I mean? It was like you were in front. I do actually. I do on the World's Funniest Weather. Guys, watch it every Sunday.
On Eliza's show, right?
No. On the World's Funniest Weather. It's its own show. It's just, but it's a spoof. So, but I remember, first of all, you pregnant. I think that's when we really like connected as friends. You were pregnant and you didn't even look like you were pregnant. You looked like you had a large lunch. That's what you looked like. You were 9 months pregnant and you just had like I had a burrito and I'm a little gassy. Like your body is ridiculous. And then a cut to like, you had Ava, it was 3 weeks later. I mean, we come to find out there were other things behind it, but you're already, at my apartment coaching with me, back to like pre-baby weight. You were totally, you're amazing. Your boobs were even bigger.
I was. My uterus was still hanging a little bit. So I had old, but I was back down.
But I remember you saying it so nonchalantly. You came and you sat down, you were on the verge of tears, and you just said, so I'm postpartum and I need to find a way. I need to work on comedy. I need to, just either find a way to talk about it or make light of it. I need something. You were just like on the verge of tears and you said it so like, I'm postpartum. And it was I was like, oh my God. And I remember saying that you definitely need to talk about this because no one was talking about it. No one on stage anyway was talking about it in a funny way. And I'm sure as I know, people retain a lot more information when you're telling them something and there's humor involved.
Absolutely.
They just do. It's proven. So if you can add humor to serious topics, have serious conversations with a little bit of humor, you have a better chance of that person hearing you and really retaining the information that you're telling them. So I just knew, I was like, not right now, because I could see you had a look. You had that look that was like, you're there, but you weren't there. I've never seen that look before, but you had it. And I knew eventually you would get to a place where you were going to talk about it like the way you are now. And you're like, you're going to be you did your hour.
I did.
You did your hour.
Did. And Jodi.
And you're doing a documentary.
And I got 2 offers on my special.
Oh my God. Her special, guys. Wait a minute. You already have 2 offers. 2 offers on her special. And you are doing a documentary.
Sorry. Anyway.
But let me just ask you a question, because we're going to go into all it. Like, is that, looking back at that 5 years ago, 4.5, let's say, did you ever see this day? Could you ever even imagine this day, considering the state you were in at that moment?
No, I couldn't imagine anything outside of the next breastfeeding. I couldn't imagine anything outside of like the next 10 minutes. It was so.
What did it feel like?
Dismal. It felt like a constant anxiety. It felt like constantly worrying about what could go wrong. It felt like my old self died.
Really?
I felt like, why did I do this to myself?
Oh my God.
I planned this. I planned this with someone I thought I loved. I hate his ass. This sucks. I don't want anything to do with this life that I thought I wanted. I wanted
you had no attachment to your daughter at that moment.
no attachment to my new life.
Right.
Nothing in my new life, my new house, my new baby, my new husband, my new relationship, my relationship changed. I had no connection to anything, to myself. I didn't know who I was anymore. I had no idea. I was like, who am I that I can't just like go to CVS if I want to? Or if I want to peruse Craigslist all night long, at 2 a.m, roll in bed, have sex with my husband, sleep till noon the next day. I can't do that. I can't even complete a meal without Ava needing something. It felt so overwhelming, high maintenance, constant hypervigilance, no time for me, no sense of myself. Nothing made me happy. Jodi, it felt like I was dying. It felt like hell. Like I wanted to run away, but there wasn't any way to fully unplug and disconnect from the responsibility of it.
Right. And here everyone, I'm sure, was telling you like, how beautiful she is. And oh my God, you must be so happy. Are you so happy? Do you love her so much? Were you just like faking it? Were you, you were very honest with me, but we were working on like comedy, and I think it just came out of your mouth because, comedy is a lot like therapy. So it just kind of rolled out. But like, to everyone else, were you being honest? Were you just saying what you thought they wanted to hear? How were you reacting to everyone? Because I'm sure, again, everyone was like, you must be so happy.
What annoyed me was people asking to see pictures of Ava.
Oh my God, really?
And I was like, wait a minute, bitch. First of all, I'm still here. Okay, that's first. Second, I can't even sit down. My vagina is broken. You haven't even asked me about how I'm feeling. How did the delivery go? Am I okay? How is Joe, AKA #WhiteBae? How is he doing? How are you guys? It was the first thing. Let me see the baby. Mm-hmm. And I just felt so forgotten.
Right.
Those moments. But the most annoying thing, I think, people didn't ask, don't you just love her so much? They asked, don't you just love it so much?
Oh, like it, like being a mom?
Yeah.
My.
And I was like, what? What life are you living that I'm not living? That this is enjoyable? What part of this is lovable? Boo, what about this fun? Or like what? She can't talk. She just sucks you dry, literally.
Literally.
You can't sleep. You can't sit down. You can't take a shower. You can't take a dump. Everything, you're constantly worried about this little specimen, like being okay. Is the room hot? Is it too cool? If dad takes her out to give me a break, like, oh my God, I can't even sleep. Nothing about the first year.
Did you know though that you were like in the throes of postpartum? Because there's a lot of women that experience that like loss of self. It is a loss of your old lifestyle, of course. And there are going to be people that are like listening to this and they're like, well, having a child, your life's going to change. But it was more than that. Hormonally, you were like, your body was broken, physically, but it also like hormonally, I don't think people that, that don't experience the hormone change of being a woman knows. Some people don't understand that, your hormone shifts it's a real thing and it fucks you up.
Yeah, they don't realize the hormonal aspect of it. They don't realize, we as new mothers don't realize what the shift is going to really look like, because no one talks about that.
Right.
No one talks about all they say is, oh, once the baby comes, you're not going to sleep, or oh, once the baby comes, get in now. Yeah, but what does that really feel like? Nobody's having that conversation with a young woman before she even gets married.
Right.
Like before I lay down and get pregnant, honey, pull me to the side. Let me know what you went.
It's like you're having that conversation with Ava now on top of Black Lives Matter. She's 5 and you're like, let me just tell you, honey, before you even get pregnant, let me just tell you, when they say you don't, she's like, Mom, I just want to hear this book. I want to hear Everybody Poops. I don't want to hear this. I want to hear Goodnight Moon. Like, I don't want to hear this.
And I'm over here like, girl, you better listen to Barney now. Because when you get older, you know, I just feel like I just felt duped. I felt lied to.
Right.
You know? And about the whole thing, every single part about being a new mother, I felt lied to. You know, I even felt lied to from my mom.
Right.
Who would just tell me, you know, like, it doesn't matter. You can still live your life. You just pack the baby up and go. That's a very optimistic way of looking at it, Mom.
Right.
But, you know, what does that feel like? You regret having to just pick up and like muscle through.
Right.
You know, all the bags and all the anxiety and all the thoughts and you have to muscle through all of that to go to CVS now. Like you have to, you know, like to do the most mundane thing. She's like, girl, you know, you got 2 perfectly warm bottles right there on your chest. You don't have to warm it up. You don't have to mix it up. You don't have to drink it out. But I'm like, Mommy, but I'm in a public bathroom at McDonald's. You really want me sitting on this dirty toilet and, you know, trying to manage Ava and all the groceries and breastfeeding on the toilet at McDonald's? Like, tell me what that felt like. Not just what to do, but what did it feel like?
Right. But here's the thing. I think even if people did tell you, you were in a different state. I want you to tell everyone, for those that don't yet know you, like how far it went and what happened. Share your story.
Yeah, what happened was I was trying to muscle through it, which is why I was working with you to coach, Jodi.
Right. You were, yes.
I was trying to muscle through and saying, you know, well, yes, I feel like my old self died, but like maybe if I just get back on stage, maybe if I continue to work, and maybe if I, you know, just pack the baby up and go, and maybe if I just try my best to, you know, at one point, Jodi, I was going to all women's Bible study at a church full of Trump supporters. That's where I was. Pro-lifers. Yes. Wow. And I was in therapy, you know. I was trying to do the open mics. I was trying to do shows.
You were, yeah.
You know, pumping backstage. It was, I did the AMAs, the American Music Awards.
I remember that's when you came to coach with me, because I was like, your body is like ridiculous. And I remember you were doing that. You were definitely trying to, that is actually exactly what I remember. You wanted a part of your old life back. So you wanted to get and do stand-up. You were like, I'm going to take control over this, and I'm going to do, you know, what I've always done. I'm going to get on stage. And I think the only thing you were going to say about your daughter, you didn't even really want to talk about her. All you wanted to say was that she broke your vagina, which is very funny. But I remember telling you, yes, write this all down though, because you will want to talk about it one day. And it's a really important message, especially because, and you talk about this, you know, in your special and on stage too, that it's considered, you know, a white woman's disease.
I know. And again, I felt lied to.
Right.
I never known anyone in my personal life,
right,
family, all my Black girlfriends, or
right,
even my white girlfriends. No, white girlfriends I knew had it, but none of my close friends, my Black friends or family, told me that they had postpartum.
Right. If one person had told you that.
No lack of connection, nothing. It was just like, and nobody told me that how badly they got hemorrhoids or how badly they tore. Nobody told me. So I was like, am I something wrong with me?
Right. That's what you think. If nobody else is saying anything, it's obviously got to be you. How is it? You know what I mean? If none of my friends and family have had any of these experiences, then it must be me.
Yeah, that's how I felt. And I you know, I felt very lonely, but like, you know, the coaching and getting up on stage and doing the shows wasn't, as my mom says, for naught. You know, it did help.
Of course.
It helped me realize that, like, I'm really not happy.
Right. You were not.
I'm really not happy, and nothing can make me happy again unless I deal with this.
Right.
I can't work out. You know, before I could like run 3 miles a day, I could go to a dance class, or I could do this or that. This was like, therapy wasn't helping, Bible study wasn't helping, comedy wasn't helping, like even time away wasn't helping, Jodi.
Right.
I would go to the 99-cent store and just walk the aisles up and down, I'd go to Ralph's, you know, with the same dirty adult diaper on, the same dress I left the hospital in. Dudes would try to holler at me, and I'm like, wait, what is my life? And I would dread going back home. I remember one day I sat at a bus stop in the rain.
Oh my God.
Outside for 2 hours and cried because I was like, I don't want to go home. It was really, really awful.
So tell everybody how, though, because I'm sure they're like, well, how did you get through it? Because you have to get through it. You have to go through that pain.
Yes. And I got through it because I was staying in therapy. Thank God. And my therapist is the one who pulled me to the side and was like, you need to get help. I went to her one day. Actually, the day I went to therapy, I had a test for a new MTV show.
Oh.
And I was all worked up about that, obviously, because it's down between me and 2 other women to host the show. And I'm like, wow, I have a job. I would have a job.
Yeah.
I'd have somewhere to go and I could leave the baby. Okay, let's do this. Right? So there's all this pressure. And I remember that day we tried out a new babysitter.
Okay.
Just to babysit Ava for a few hours.
Right.
And I remember the babysitter telling me, oh, you know, don't worry about her. She'll be fine. You know, I'll send you pictures throughout the day so you know. And I was like, no, you don't have to send me any pictures. Actually, don't send me any pictures. I'm sure you're great.
Oh my God.
Right. Something was wrong. I do the test. I do the network test for this show. And then immediately after that, I go to therapy. Ava's still at the new babysitter. I haven't seen a picture. I haven't heard a peep. And I go there. My therapist was like, hey, Angelina, how you doing? Old white lady, Dr. Olson. She's like in her 70s, still working full time.
Dr. Olson, that is such an old, white lady's name. It's like a Little House on the Prairie. Like, we're going to see Dr. Olson. Well, it was like Nellie Olson. So it was the Olson family. You know what I mean? Like, it totally sounds like, yes, an old white woman therapist.
Right, but she's great. And she's the one, she looked at me, she was like, is everything okay? I was like, yeah, it's fine. And she was like, okay, how are you feeling? And I just remember apologizing in my head. Not in my head. I remember apologizing out loud.
For what?
Exactly. And she was like, what's wrong? I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And the tears and the weeping. And she was like, you look like you are, you look exhausted. Obviously I had full hair and makeup, but she was like, you look exhausted and you look hopeless.
Oh.
And I was like, I'm doing everything I can, Dr. Olson. I'm really, really trying. I'm really trying. And I tried, but I'm sorry. I was apologizing for what I had done.
How was your husband? I mean, because I'm sure you were you telling him as like, you know?
I was telling him, let me address, I was telling Dr. Olson what I had done in my head,
right.
What I was seeing that I was doing in my head.
Right.
Actually hadn't done and had no plans to. But my husband noticed that something was wrong like a month or two before that. And I didn't know. And he called my mom.
Oh, wow.
And he called Dr. Olson.
Oh, well, that's good.
And he didn't tell me. So they were both on high alert without me knowing. And that day when Dr. Olson told me that I looked hopeless, there was another word she used, I forgot. But she told me that she thought that I needed to check into a psychiatric hospital. And I didn't resist her at all. I was just like, can I go now?
That's when you know. Most people, when they hear that, would freak out. They would have no, they don't want to like leave their home. You know what I mean?
Right. They would run out the door. I was running into Dr. Olsen's arms, like, please.
You're like, can you make a reservation for me?
Well, I did.
For one?
That's exactly what I did. You said, can you make a reservation for me? She was like, so you should go. And I was like, well, how do I go? She's like, well, because my therapist, Dr. Olsen, meets me at Cedars.
Right.
So she was like, you can go downstairs to the ER and then they can take you and admit you. And I was like, no. I said, can you call for me? Can you call them and make sure that they have a bed?
You're like, I don't want to wait online. Like, I don't wait online to get in clubs or psychiatric wards. So I'm gonna need you to put me on the list.
Pretty much. She did. She called. She was like,
Dr. Olsen hooked you up.
Yes, Dr. Olsen for the win. She was like, I have a patient. Her name is Angelina Spicer. She has Blue Cross Blue Shield Federal. Do you have a bed? How soon can she come? Will she be taken care of? Someone call me in so that I know how my patient is doing. Hell yeah, we going, Dr. Olsen. Let's do this. So, yeah, and the whole time, I'm feeling a sense of relief. I'm feeling like, oh, thank God. Okay, there's a solution. I'm going to get better. I'm going to feel better. I'm going to like this maybe. So Dr. Olsen, she left her office. I've never seen her walk outside the door. And she walked with me outside to fill my meter until Joe came.
Wow.
Dr. Olsen called my mom. I told her I did not want to call my mom. I did not want to call Joe to tell them, because I knew that if I had to make that call, that I would feel badly for them.
Right.
To take care of me.
Right.
So I was like, I don't even want to be on the receiving end of that. And all I could hear on the other end was my mom scream, she has to go to a hospital, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm going. I'm
Bed
going.
for one. Yeah.
Right. Angelina for one, girl, we going. So yeah, it was a trip. But at no point, Jodi, did I feel like it was not the right thing to do.
Well, it obviously was the right thing to do.
Yes. And to this day, I have no regrets.
Right.
And that place was not perfect. I was the only mother in there. I was the only person who really even understood what postpartum depression and anxiety was. But I was like, no, boo. I looked around. I was like, yeah, they look as sad as me. Mm-hmm.
This is where I belong. This is it.
These are my people here.
These are my people right now.
My people. Now.
I mean, but look at you now and how many people that you've, reached through your comedy, through seminars, corporate events, talking about this publicly, using humor to help educate people and really like opening people's eyes to postpartum and how real it is. It's so real. And this is going to be a strange thing to say, but it's so real that this woman who catches cats, I have a feral cat. Anyone that follows me on Instagram knows this feral cat. Anyway, she catches cats and she brought them to the vet. And this one cat had just given birth 4 weeks ago. And the vet said, oh, she's in postpartum. And I was like, oh my God. She's like, I know, I had the same reaction. But all animals that can give birth can experience postpartum. And this cat that looked like, she showed me a picture of this cat, it was a beautiful cat, had that look in its face kind of the way you did, that like week, whatever, that kind of like, yeah, that's it. Like, exactly. That's what the cat's face looked like. And I was like, oh my God. So they gave the cat like Prozac, like just shot it up, gave it some, extra drugs, anti-anxiety drugs, because animals can be on antidepressants. And this cat was definitely just like, like staring off into the sunset. And they're like, oh, she's in postpartum. Yeah. So we're going to fix her so she doesn't have any more babies.
And you know what? You say that I'm educating people with humor, but I'm learning too, Jodi. I'm learning like that, you were in the process of adopting. Adoptive parents also have postpartum depression.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, they can.
Right.
Even though there's no chemical imbalance, it's just a sense of this feeling of like your old life died.
Yes, I actually do have that. I have moments of that even before the pandemic, and definitely during the pandemic, just because everything's heightened. But I've definitely had moments where I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Like, I tried to get pregnant, 6 years ago on my own, or 5 years ago, and now I'm going through the adoption process, which is really fucking expensive. So if you're going to do it, you're going to really fucking do it. Like, there's no, you know what I mean? No take backs. And I really want to be a mom. It's not, it doesn't matter to me. I had to, and I still, by the way, and I'm still going through it, I really had to mourn the fact that I will never have my own biological child. It has really been a struggle. I'm still working through it. It's just the older I get, it's, it's very apparent that I will never have my own biological child, and you have to mourn that loss. You have to mourn it before you can even make the decision to adopt. And I got to a really good place where I was. So the goal has always been to be a mother. It's not about giving birth. It's about becoming a mother. And I had to make sure, though, it wasn't just like I wanted to experience being pregnant. All of my friends have kids. Everyone I know, for the most part. There's only a few people I know that aren't mothers or been pregnant. And a lot of them are younger, and so they probably will be because they want to have children, and maybe they won't be. But either way, I wanted that experience. But I had to ask myself, like, what was more important? The experience of being pregnant and giving birth, or being a mother? And it's being a mother. It's always been the plan. So I'm going down this road, and I've had those freak out moments because I could match with a birth mom and get a baby in a month. Like, one of the birth mom possibilities I got, she was due 5 weeks from when I got this like information packet about her. If she had chosen me and it had worked out, I would have a baby right now. So it can happen very fast for me. But this process before that time, before finding a birth mom that I match with, like, is a lot of time. And I'm assuming it's similar to when people are pregnant. It's like the 9 months of like, is this the life I want? Everything about my life is going to change. I just moved into a new house. I love my new house. Say goodbye to all your nice things. Say goodbye to that extra room that you love so much that you do your yoga in and your meditation, because that's the baby's room. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. I mean, we all experience, I think, what I've learned in transitions in our lives. That was obviously a major transition for me. When you have your baby, it will be a major transition for you. Yeah. There is a period of adjustment.
Yes.
Of adjusting your expectations and adjusting what you thought it would be versus what it is, whether it's better or worse or just as good, whatever.
Right.
My cousin, she is a stepmom, and she told me that she had postpartum depression. She didn't give birth, but overwhelming new responsibility in her life.
I can see that, because that's your like marrying into a family. Like, you're getting an instant family. Like with me, I hired a lawyer and I went, to an adoption agency. So I'm proactive in that, I also have a friend who's a stepmom, and she had her own biological child, like 2 years or right after they got married. But, she was dating him. And of course, I'm sure you're like your friend. She thought, oh, well, I'm going to marry him and now I'm going to be a stepmom. But you say that, and then now all of a sudden you are one. And now this is your, yes.
Yeah.
This is your life now, and everything about your old life has changed. Now it's going to be like that. People have that with marriage too. We're having that right now with what's going on with the world.
COVID has 100% triggered my postpartum depression and
it's PTSD. We all are now going to have, like you, I'm sure it's triggered that for you. All of us are coming out of this pandemic, the quarantine, with definitely PTSD to some degree.
And the anxiety of like, is it going to open? Is it going to close?
I know. I feel like I'm a dog getting crate trained. You know what I mean? Like, in, out, in, safe place, not safe, safe place, not safe.
Right. And, and right now, #WhiteBay and I are trying to decide what we're going to do about school in the fall.
My God, yeah.
If there's one thing that I learned about myself during my experience with postpartum depression and anxiety was that I am not cut out to be a stay-at-home mother. I'm not. That's
a lot of people feel the same way.
But I'm saying it out loud for everybody to hear. I'm a great mother. I'm a great wife. I'm not a good stay-at-home mother. And a lot of women who have gone through postpartum depression like I did feel the same way.
Right.
And we feel like we are being made.
You're being forced to, yes.
Forced to be a stay-at-home mom. And like, that gives me a lot of anxiety to the point where like, I find myself falling in the same habits of going to that same 99-cent store.
Right.
Eating chocolate in the car, eating my dinner in the car, you know, like perusing the aisles of the grocery store just to like get some sanity.
Right.
But it's really been a hard struggle because of what I've been through.
Right.
To this COVID thing. So I feel for moms, especially who just had babies.
Right.
Or who are pregnant and have to deliver with a mask on their face. You can barely breathe anyway. And these put on a N95 while you're pushing, girl, bye. So, you know, I really feel, and then having to cope in isolation. When you come home from the hospital, it's just you and your husband and the new baby.
Right. I know two friends that are, you know what I mean, that gave birth right before the quarantine or during the quarantine. And yeah, neither one of them have done anything. And now their babies are like, 3-4 months old.
And you have older kids who are like 6 or 7. They need attention. They need, you can't even call grandma over to give you any kind of relief because you don't want grandma exposed. You can't have play dates. You can't, I couldn't have gone to the Trump Bible study, back in, if we were under quarantine.
No, you probably could have. You probably actually could have done that.
That's a great point. Yeah, no mask. Just come on in, sister. We singing, we yelling, we giving hugs. Right, we even sharing the same form.
Exactly. We're fucking licking each other. That's what we're doing.
Licking each other.
A Trump Bible study. We lick each other.
Right. So, so we considered maybe doing private school in the fall just because we literally can't.
I get it.
I know that that's a healthy boundary for me to set, not saying out loud, and I feel guilty, I feel badly, but I am not a good homeschool teacher, and I'm not a good mother and wife, and I'm not a good Angelina Spicer when I have to.
And I mean, the reality of it is no one is their best version right now. We just aren't. We're not the best version of ourselves. Everybody's struggling in their own way, and it's interesting. It's even if you didn't suffer from postpartum, you would feel exactly what you're feeling right now for the most part. Like, it's also not normal to be with your family 24 hours a day. Yes, that's the appropriate phase.
Right, that's a hard thing to say.
But it's not though, because I think everybody realizes that. Like, we're not, you know what I mean? Like, no one's supposed to be with another human being all the time.
Jodi, it was bleak around in these parts. I was like, if we were on the same routine that we were on when Ava was an infant.
Oh my God.
Same rotation. We had a schedule. It was like, okay, you get her in the morning until 10. I get her from 10 to 1. We go outside. We get a scooter. We do schoolwork. It was the same routine. Joe would get an hour to himself in the afternoon. I would get an hour to myself. I would put her down. It was like, but nobody's like leaving each other.
Right.
Like leaving the house.
Yes, leaving the house. At least you were able to leave the house last time. Yeah. When I realized Target was actually open, I for some reason I didn't realize it was open this whole time. I was just walking around CVS, and then I realized Target was open, and I was like, oh my God. And I just oh my God, I got like bathing suit tops. I was just walking around Target, just like with my mask on, just staring at things, I was like, oh, a candle. Like, I was like, so like out of it.
Sponges. Yeah, I can use both sponges.
Which, by the way, when the protest started and like the looting started, I remember, because it was like on La Brea, I had this thought. I was like, I would be so bad at looting because I would be the person that's like, I need to try this on first. Just hold on a second. Wait a minute. I need more. I would get all the anti-aging shit. I would be in the anti-aging face cream aisle if I was looting store, right?
At the corner, like, oh yeah, this.
Oh, give me some of that. They'd be like, grab the TVs. I'm like, no, you don't understand.
I need eye cream.
I need eye cream. That's more important. That's hilarious. I need eye cream. Look at these crow's feet.
When the looters started looting CVS, I was like, oh, somebody got smart.
Yes, seriously.
Straight for the pharmaceutical drugs that they could flip.
Absolutely. Pharmaceutical drugs and like for acid reflux meds. I would take both. I would take both because that shit's real acid reflux.
And tampons.
Yeah. We know what's important.
Right.
Oh my God. All right. Well, tell everybody where they can find you.
Oh, they can find me at Angelina Spicer on Instagram, on Facebook, everywhere at Angelina Spicer. It's not Angela, it's not Angelica. It's like Angelina, like Jolie, but Angelina Spicer. Your kids, if you have kids, probably already follow me on TikTok. But yeah, I'm also on TikTok and YouTube and all the things. Jodi, I love you.
I love you.
Always being in my corner and giving me a platform to be funny, showcase my funny, and I'm happy that you're my friend.
I'm so happy you're my friend.
We got to do this because I miss you.
I miss you too. I'm giving you like a virtual like hug. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. My name is Jodi Miller, and don't call me ma'am. What?